Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're really plunging into the headlines from USA News Today, specifically June 29th, 2025. Our goal here is simple. Pull out the key takeaways, the important stuff from these daily events. Give you a shortcut to being really informed without getting bogged down.
Exactly. And what's fascinating, I think, is how these headlines, they might look separate, right? But if you look closer, you see these underlying trends,
Yeah.
connections. And understanding those is pretty crucial for getting a handle on the bigger picture.
Okay, let's unpack this then. Starting in Washington, some pretty urgent news there. Congress went home for the weekend, no debt deal. And that X date is what, less than a month away now?
Less than a month, yeah. And the X date, just to clarify for everyone, that's the point where the Treasury basically expects to run out of cash, to pay the government's bills without borrowing more. These kinds of standoffs, historically, they cause more than just market jitters. They can actually increase the government's borrowing costs.
Ah, okay, so it costs more to borrow.
Right. Think of it like a sort of hidden tax, potentially hitting interest rates for you, on mortgages, car loans, things like that. It's not just a DC problem. It can become a real household budget thing.
Wow. Okay, so that hits close to home for a lot of people. And speaking of big decisions with wide impact, here's something else huge. The Supreme Court. A 5-4 decision blocking the administration's student loan forgiveness plan. Said it exceeded executive authority.
Yeah, and this isn't just about student loans, though obviously that's massive for millions. It's also a really significant statement about congressional power versus the executive branch. This ruling could signal maybe a shift, where future presidents might find it harder to push through big policies without very clear backing from Congress. It sets a major precedent.
And directly impacts all those people who are counting on that relief, right? They have to rethink their finances now.
Absolutely. A significant recalculation for many.
Okay, so while all that's happening, how did the financial world react? Markets seemed a bit uncertain.
Mixed, yeah. Mixed close amid all the uncertainty. The debt talks, what the Fed might do next. It all plays in.
Right, the Fed's always a factor.
Always. So investors are kind of holding their breath, waiting for some clarity on the debt ceiling, on interest rates. It creates this double layer of unpredictability.
Makes sense. Okay, let's shift gears a bit. While there's financial uncertainty, there's another crisis brewing, more immediate in some ways. These record-breaking wildfires in Northern California, thousands evacuating.
Yes, and what's really striking there is just the speed, how fast these environmental emergencies can just, boom, blow up and demand huge resources. The response was quick, thankfully. The governor got federal aid moving, mobilized the National Guard for firefighting support.
So it shows how fast things can escalate.
It really does. A stark reminder of these climate-driven events and the need for rapid, coordinated responses.
Definitely something to watch. Okay, broadening out again, internationally now. Iran and the U.S., after months of pretty sharp rhetoric, diplomats are talking again in Geneva.
That's right, talks resumed. The stated goal, very simply, is to avoid regional conflict. That's the baseline. Both sides apparently describe the talks as productive but difficult, which, in diplomatic language.
Difficult is probably an understatement.
Likely, yes.
Yeah.
It just highlights how incredibly careful these high-stakes talks have to be, especially with the current global tensions. It's a reminder that even, small steps forward can feel pretty monumental when the stakes are this high.
So quite a day when you look at it all together. We've got the national debt deadline looming, a major Supreme Court decision, market jitters, a serious environmental crisis unfolding, and sensitive international talks restarting.
All hitting the headlines on the same day.
So thinking about all this, what's the takeaway for you listening right now?
Well, I think the key thing to consider is just how connected all these things really are. The economy, politics, the environment, global relations. They don't happen in isolation. Maybe think about which of these stories feels like it might have the biggest ripple effect in the next few weeks. How does this web of events, potentially touch your own life? It's worth mulling over.